and welcome to the editorial analysis of the Hindu. Today we shall be discussing the editorial of the 26th of September. So coming to the first article, Live and Let Live In. The context of this article is with regards to the live-in relationships. These are what are very common today. Questions on these live-in relationships have become societal issues for that matter. Whether or not it should be acceptable, it should not be acceptable. All of this is what is a matter of debate. You can find it a question in this context in General Studies paper 1 as a social issue. Otherwise, very important area of questioning can be in the ethics paper. There are also these kind of questions which are somehow objectionable in this society. These kind of questions are what you can find space for. So that is why this article becomes important for us. So coming to the analysis, first and foremost what you need to know here is that this article is also context in this regard, that the State Human Rights Commission in Rajasthan has recently given a statement where it has said that women in live-in relationship have a concubine status, and this is not dignified. Now what does this concubine status mean is, it simply means is that this concubine status is a status that is any status that is lower than the status of a wife. In a polygamous culture, what used to happen is that if there were many wives, then there was one wife who was the most important, or for that matter who had the status of the first wife, and that in that context the other wives or the other women who were staying with the man were known as concubines. So the Supreme Court has equated a woman living in a live-in relationship as a concubine, and that is what has been criticized, that why is it that such kind of a derogatory word has been used for women in live-in relationship, and why is it that they are called as non-dignified associates. So that is what is important. Another thing that is important, which is a key idea that I found, is the idea of benevolent patriarchy. Now, the idea of benevolent patriarchy is something that is very common in India. This is the idea that it is the men who are protector of women, and women need protection, and that is why the men have to assume a higher position as compared to women. So this is what is clearly patriarchal view, but it is also benevolent because they are trying to protect women. This idea of protection of women has resulted in several rules in our country. For example, it is not unknown that the hostel timings in colleges are different for girls' hostels as well as boys' hostels. Whereas boys are allowed to roam around in the campus even late at night, girls are not allowed. This is in line with protecting girls in their hostels. So this mindset that women need protection and it is the men who will protect is what is wrong, and this is something that starts from as a form of benevolent patriarchy. So that is important. Another thing that is important is in the context of the rights of the people who are in a live-in relationship. Now basically a live-in relationship is nothing but it is cohabitation. It is staying together without marriage. Now several rights are also required here, primarily because suppose there are episodes of domestic violence, then do the women or for that matter even the male partners, do they have any protection under the Domestic Violence Act of 2005? Sometimes this is what is accepted and sometimes this is not accepted. Sometimes women are considered as in a live-in relationship are considered as equal status of that of a wife, but sometimes the status is not given. So these are some questions that definitely arise in the context of live-in relationship, which should be worked out, which should be decided upon, so that there should not be any loopholes which can later be exploited. So that is important. Also, this is an era of some landmark judgments coming through the Supreme Court in the context of the interpersonal relation, or for that matter the intimate space of an individual. For example, the Shafeen Jahan case, very important names. I have always suggested, remember these names, they will always help you in your paper. The Shafeen Jahan versus Asokan case in the year 2018, Supreme Court has said that every individual has a fundamental right to choose one's own life partner, and this is what should be free from any approval from the society. So that is one important landmark judgment. The other fourth is the Navtej Johar versus the Union of India case. Again in 2018, the Supreme Court has decriminalized section 377, and that is again something that is landmark. That is what is very important. So that is what has been discussed in the editorial, and these two landmark judgments are what can be related to this particular issue, because all the three aspects of all the three issues are what are related to intimate choices of an individual, and if freedom is given in two of these intimate choices, that is of marriage as well as of choosing one's sexuality, and which was previously criminalized under section 377, if these are what have been considered as rights of an individual, then definitely the right to stay in a live-in relation is also a right. So this is what is the next analysis. Also, the rights for people in live-in relationship. First and foremost, under article 19, we all have a right of freedom of expression. expression. So right to freedom of expression also involves the right to freedom of expression of one's behavior, the way one wants to portray one's relationship, express one's relationship, express one's identity, express one's preferences, express one's love. All of this is what is our fundamental right of expression, so that is important. Also under Article 21, which is the right to life and liberty, a very wide scope is what has been taken by the Supreme Court, and this involves right to privacy as a fundamental right. So if these are fundamental rights, then from this it can be clearly linked that right to live in relationship is also a fundamental right, so this is important. In India also, otherwise you must understand that this is not a country where divisions are any less. We are a very divided society also. There are lots of challenges to get married because of caste, religion, gender, so many issues are there. So in these kind of societies, it often becomes important that sometimes it is not socially possible, or for that matter sometimes even not legally possible for couples to get married, and for them the choice of staying in a live-in relationship is the obvious choice that remains. So the government has to acknowledge this choice of individuals, and it has to ensure that it is up to date vis-a-vis this particular trend that is coming up, and the government cannot dictate the people that this is what is not right for them. So that is what is the entire gist that can be extracted from this article. Lastly, the article talks us something about women's right also. Now basically, first aspect of women's right here is for those women who are living in a live-in relationship. Now what basically happens is that our social culture is such that a woman has the share of responsibility which is not paid for. Suppose a woman is staying at home, she is taking care of the house or the household chores, and she is also bearing children. In that situation, the woman has some other set of responsibilities compared to the male counterpart. Now men are paid for their duties, but women are not, they are unpaid. So often it happens is that women are vulnerable. If this relationship breaks up in future, then it is the woman who is often left stranded, at least financially. So protection has to be given to women even in live-in relationship. Financial security is what should be provided to women. So that is what has been discussed as first aspect of the women's rights. Another thing that is important is that women should have the right to choose their relationship, the type of relationship. What the current State Human Rights Commission in Rajasthan has said, it underlines the fact that women are only allowed to stay in a partnership if they are married. Otherwise, they are not considered as dignified individuals, or they shall not be respected. They will be considered as bad women. All of this is what is unacceptable in today's rights. A woman's choice is what is supreme, and it should be respected. So that is what is the entire analysis here. I have told you these kind of rare questions become UPSC favorites. Sometimes even in the interview, many of you have written your mains, and in interview you must start your interview preparation as soon as possible. And in interview also these kind of controversial topics do come, so you should read these kind of articles. It will only open your horizon. So that's about this particular article. Coming to the next article, the real deal. Context here is in the context of India-US relationship. You all know Prime Minister Modi is on a visit to US, and there was an expectation that a deal will be signed. What are the irritants? All of that is what has been discussed in this editorial. So coming to the analysis, first and foremost you should know that there was a planning to sign a limited trade deal. But this is what has failed. The countries couldn't even sign a limited trade deal. Why is it limited? Because it doesn't include some more serious aspects like intellectual property, e-commerce, the H-1B visa issue. So all of these issues were what were ignored for now, and it was decided that on some trade issues a limited deal will be signed, but this also couldn't be reached, which clearly is showing that there are irritants between India as well as US. Now what are these irritants? Firstly, the irritant is that US is demanding that India has imposed 20% duty on mobile phones as well as on Ethernet switches. US wants that on these electronics, India should withdraw these subsidies that it is charging. So that is the first irritant that is there in the context of India-US relation. Also, US wants that India should not impose duties on medical devices like stents and knee implants. Another thing is that US is wanting India to withdraw a subsidy, or the duty that it is imposing on dairy products as well as on agricultural products. Now both dairy and agricultural products are something very sensitive to India. The Indian Prime Minister himself has taken credit for ensuring that the prices are what are reduced in this context. So this is what is not in the favor of India. Again, an irritant is the generalized system of preferences from which India was removed recently. India wants that it should again be given an access to the US markets under the GSP. This again is an irritant. So because of all of these issues, a deal is what has not been struck between India and US. So that is what is the entire analysis. One important point is that elections in US are what are due, and for President Trump it is very important that he gets some results just before fighting for elections yet again, because with China there is already a trade war. So better trade relations with interest is very much a need for US as of now, and that is another building pressure. So that is what has been discussed in the article. India-US relation is important. In that particular context, this article is basically going to add as additive material or fodder material. So that is how you have to use it. So that's about this particular article. Coming to the next article. Now basically, I'm not going to be discussing this article. I have only included it for two reasons. First reason is that this is what is a PT question also. In several state services also you can see this kind of a question. That it is Prime Minister Modi who has been given the annual Global Goalkeeper Award for his policies on Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. This is an annual award. This is a very, very prestigious award that is given by the Gates Foundation every year. Now that is one PT question, and that is the first reason for which this article is included. The second reason that I have included this article is because this is a very, very critical article. This article is saying that this award is what is not deserved by Prime Minister Modi, and this is what has resulted in somehow a trade-off, because only if Prime Minister Modi is going ahead with his developmental agenda of maybe Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, this cannot be traded for the fact that he is not favouring freedom of citizens and democratic rights, especially in the context of Jammu and Kashmir. So this is what is the entire analysis in this article. You can give it a read. But I want to suggest you all that how you have to be conscious of building your opinions. As a UPSC aspirant, if you will take up too much of negative information, then it will reflect in your answers, and this is what is unacceptable. You have to understand that you have to draw a line. It will be good to have an opinion, but you cannot absorb all the articles which are highly critical of the government also. You will have to draw your line there, and this is one article which is precisely that. It is all a negative which cannot be accepted for UPSC preparation, and that is why I am omitting these kind of articles for discussion. So that's about this particular article. Beware of these kind of articles. You might be reading several material on your own also, I'm expecting, and definitely if you are, you must make these kind of wise choices also about elimination, which is also important for UPSC. So that is one thing that I wanted to convey to you. So that's about this article, and that's about our discussion today. I thank you all for watching the video.